Um, and ultimately, what I learned on the marketing front and social media front led to Awasi, which not only provides social media marketing and revenue management and full service property management to Onera, but to other properties as well. All right, so Onera was really purpose built for the modern traveler, and we're going to talk about who that is and what that means. But it was inspiring units, beautiful novel architecture and design set in this sort of serene natural setting. And the idea was, all the comforts of home and then some. So very much not roughing it. A step well above glamping. Private bathrooms, private hot tubs, kitchenettes. Beautiful finishes, plenty of space, temperature control. And really just a beautiful sort of looking glass into nature from a very inspiring stay. And we had a wide variety of unit types at our first property, from these custom tree houses that you see here, safari tents you see in the bottom right, container homes, domes, so a very wide variety. So who is the modern traveler? Modern traveler, 25 to 55, really that Gen Z to Gen X, with millennials making up the biggest chunk. With that said, we do get plenty of boomers at Onera as well. And the modern traveler, really look at as trendsetter, the person in their group that is kind of recommending cool new places to stay, and often high income, tech savvy, and really they value experiences over material possessions, and are often willing to spend more on a highly experiential, unique stay, and potentially a higher percentage of their overall trip or travel budget on the stay itself to stay somewhere really cool and unique. They care about connection-driven purchases, so they want to feel connected to the property, maybe the founder origin story or just the story of the property itself. And they're willing to pay a premium for something that's novel, unique, and going to give them a story to tell. So the modern traveler is finding where to stay on social. And why they're finding where to stay on social is because social media inspires them to book. They can visualize their stay. So video really allows the prospective guests to visualize themselves there and really see what the property is all about. It allows you to build a stronger connection with a prospective guest before the stay through video, through staff content, through founder content. They can really get a feel for who you are as a brand and as a property. And then the sharing behavior is really built into the platform in a way that, Booking.com, Expedia, Airbnb, it's not, sort of native to the platform and sort of built into the consumer behavior as much. These platforms were literally made for sharing. So when I first opened Onera, despite how Instagrammable it may appear, I actually was not leveraging social media or Instagram at all. We opened and we were listing on Airbnb, Booking.com, Expedia. We were really just leveraging the OTAs. And it was a local travel creator who reached out to me on Airbnb and said, "Hey, let me do a collab post with you guys. Let me show off your property. I think we can, I can really create some value, get some eyeballs on your property and generate bookings." So we spun up a direct booking site. We spun up an Instagram page, and we had this influencer come out, and she did 2 posts for us, and we did about $30,000 in direct bookings from 2 posts. 7,000 new followers, hundreds of thousands of views, and really just kickstarted our social media marketing to direct booking funnel, and opened my eyes to the power of social. So for the rest of that first year, we really leaned into influencer marketing, and we did about 35% direct. So 35% of our bookings came direct through our website, pushed from organic social due to the influencer marketing strategy. And in the second year, we wanted to double down on this and see how far we could push it. So we wanted to start putting out more of our own content, not just relying on influencers. And we tried to hire an outside agency. And unfortunately, that fell extremely flat. This agency had amazing logos. We had high hopes. You can see them here: St. Regis, Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, the Line Hotel in Austin. So they were really, we thought, well regarded. And content just seemed like an afterthought in the offering. They would send a junior employee out with an iPhone once a quarter to get content. And it just was not moving the needle. Like the engagement was super low. We weren't growing. And to me, this meant high quality content is a non-negotiable, and it's the most important thing. That's actually what's creating the engagement, the growth, the virality, which is leading to bookings. And so because of that, and because we worked with this high regarded agency that was not moving the needle, we ended up building our own team. So we built our own social media and content team to try to tackle this opportunity. And originally it was just for our own properties. So we hired the best videographers and editors we could find. Later, dedicated employees to manage influencers and community and the platforms. Later, data analysts to dig into the data, see what was working and what wasn't, to do all of our reporting. All told, today, Awasi, which is what this new team and company became, is about 30 people, and more than half of them are on the marketing and social media side. So we've certainly grown quite a bit in the past couple of years. And the results for Onera were pretty phenomenal. Since we started running the social, we have 37 million views, 13 reels that went viral, over 1 million views. And we're driving anywhere from 5 to 10,000 unique visitors directly from Instagram to our website, into our booking funnel. And that's what that link taps per month is. How many people went into the Instagram profile page and clicked on our hotel booking site. So in addition to creating viral content and really engaging video, the way to maximize the direct bookings and the value of direct bookings is pairing viral content with dynamic pricing. So we have a strong revenue management team, which basically handles all the pricing for the hotels within Awasi. And if you have a video going viral, there's more demand inherently for your product, in this case for our stay. And so there's less price sensitivity. So we can jack the price up, we can capture more of that value. And that's been how we've been able to really take advantage and optimize revenue when we have virality, when we have super high engagement on social media. So all told, the success of our first property on Fredericksburg, we do about 80% direct bookings now, almost exclusively driven from organic social and content marketing. Our ADR is well over $500, 80% occupancy, 2.6 million in direct bookings, probably closer to 3 million as of today. Our NOI margins are 55%. If you know hotels, like a good case for hotels is typically in the 30s. So 55 is very high. And a lot of that is because we're saving 14% right off the top on all of those direct bookings versus using an OTA like a booking.com or an Airbnb that charges fees. So we're able to achieve a high margin there. And we get high rates because of our, marketing expertise and because we have a very unique product.
Oh no.
Oh
The
no.
site is down.
So from those initial metrics and that success, we ultimately sold a majority interest in Onera Fredericksburg to a public REIT. So it was the first institutional exit of this asset type, landscape hotel, luxury glamping site, however you want to look at it. So it was the first institutional exit, and we ultimately sold for a $7 million valuation. So they paid $6.3 million for a 90% stake. That represented really strong return for our investors. I don't know if we'll ever replicate these numbers again. The numbers are so high largely because we sold within a year, and our earnout was a year after that. So we nearly 4x'd initial investor capital in under 3 years. So what were the biggest takeaways, and what are the broader learnings from the success that we had with Onera Fredericksburg? The big one is that we're in the midst of a social media revolution. So we've seen these revolutions about every decade. We had the internet revolution, where a lot of big companies that did not take an internet first approach ended up losing, right? Borders and Blockbuster, and those that did, Amazon and Netflix, were massive winners. The mobile revolution, so folks that were slow to adopt to that ended up getting left behind, and winners, Uber, Airbnb, that were really optimized for mobile, saw a ton of success. today we're seeing the same thing with companies, politicians, you name it, anyone who's going all in on social media and really, leveraging the platforms as best as they can are the ones that are winning, and those that are focused more on traditional branding, marketing, advertising, and not focusing on social are seeing a decline. So why invest in social, and why is this so powerful? Well, first off, well over half the planet, close to 60% of the planet is on social media, 4.7 billion people, multiple hours a day on average, they're spending on social. And it's wild to me with hotels how much of an afterthought social media marketing can be. And it's just sort of this nebulous branding exercise where they just have a page, because you want to meet consumers where they are. This is where the attention is. So there's a huge value in being in front of them, up front and center with high quality content. So just some stats to sort of further cement the point around social media marketing, specifically in travel and hotels. 75% of millennials and Gen Z say that social influences their travel decisions. And then almost all millennials share their travel experiences on social. I have a firm belief that Instagram will be a top booking platform by 2030, and it may be sooner than that. The experience is better for both guests and hosts in many ways. So or I should say guests and owners, or guests and hotel operators. So on the guest side, it's very easy to share it with a loved one, with a friend, provides much more inspiration to book. There's more of an emotional connection. You can see more of the property, and you can really get connected to the brand values, in some cases, the staff, the founders, and the origin story of the property. On the owner side, as I mentioned before, you're saving often at least 14% off the top on OTA fees. And sometimes it's more. Like Booking.com and Expedia, you're probably saving closer to 20%. Airbnb, it's about 14%. You're able to increase brand awareness, and you really own the customer journey from beginning to end, which you don't own that customer data. You don't have full control of that journey when they're booking on a third-party platform. And then finally, you're reaching a group of guests that is less price sensitive. They're seeing your video, inspiring video on Instagram, for example, and they're inspired to book. They're not price shopping. When you're on Airbnb or Booking.com, you're inherently price shopping and value shopping. If you see a reel on Instagram and you're inspired to book, you have no anchor to the pricing. So if we're $500 a night or $600 a night, it doesn't necessarily matter to the guest if they have the means to pay. And we see that in the numbers. Our ADR, so our average nightly rate for our properties, is typically 25 to 30% higher for the direct bookings. So we're in this moment now, specifically for hotels, and I'm sure there's many other industries like this, where 99% of folks haven't gone all in on social. So you have some of the innovators who are. Onera is one of them. The Ritz Paris does a phenomenal job with social. The early adopters, which is sort of the phase that we're moving into now. And then there's this idea of the chasm, right? Once you cross the chasm, you get into this idea of the entire early majority and the late majority, and much more of the hotels and whatever industry you're in are sort of following suit and starting to invest in social. By that point, you're not getting the outsized return of being early. So the innovators and the early adopters are the ones that are going to get the biggest outsized return for investing in social media and content marketing more heavily today. Once you're into the early majority and late majority, it will be sort of table stakes to have this really strong, compelling social and content marketing strategy. So what's holding hotels back? Why are they not investing in this more today? We've talked about how many people are on there. We've talked about consumer buying behavior. Why are more hotels not doing this? So one, I think, is there's a major problem with revenue attribution for organic social. And I have a great example of this from Onera. So Onera, we pretty much our whole marketing strategy was organic social, and we're driving about 80% of our bookings direct. So Google Analytics is saying that 1 to 2% of our revenue is coming from social media, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense given our strategy and what we're doing. So we implemented a survey that asks guests when they book, how'd you hear about us? And we have a very high opt-in rate. It's the only question we ask. More than half of our guests take the survey, and 60% of them say they hear about us from social media, from Instagram, TikTok, et cetera. And so there's a massive mismatch there, right, between what the analytics platforms are saying and what is the reality and what guests are self-reporting. Some of that is just the buyer behavior, right? You might see a video, of a hotel you want to stay at, follow that account, you see more of the videos, and then when you go to stay there, you just use Google search and it shows up as branded search. So that's not going to show up as attributed to social. But this is one of the big reasons why hotels aren't doing it. It doesn't fit into their perfect box of their analytics dashboard. So those that are willing to think outside the box, do things like this survey to show the attribution and sort of validate the spend, are able to see these outsized returns because they're investing in it when others are not. So let's talk about those that are and the results that we're seeing for the 1% or less of hotels that actually are investing in social and content. So the Ritz Paris I mentioned, if you go check out their account, it's phenomenal. Extremely well done storytelling. The property's beautiful. They show it off very well. They show off like the sequences of how they do their fine dining experience. They show events, they show amenities, and it's just done. The videography is very high quality. They pump out a ton of content, and they're just very good at storytelling. Chalet Alphos is extremely Instagrammable by nature, and I think they've figured that out and very much have leaned into the social first strategy. They have like an outdoor day bed where you can do a breakfast in bed in the snow. They have all of these like Nordic spa elements outside. They have a number of like romantic packages where you can get rose petals all throughout a hot tub, a number of Instagrammable kind of features and experiences. And so they've had a ton of success, over 1 million followers, 47 million views, and are just doing really well there. Now, the bottom two are actually two clients of ours at Owasi. So we started with Onera, and then we started to have friends of ours in the industry that were asking us to do their social media marketing and in some cases revenue management as well. Spoon Mountain was the first of those. So they're a glamping site in Wimberley in the Texas Hill Country. When we started with them, actually, I'll get into the case study in a minute, but all told, 22 million views, their best reel, 5 million views on a single reel. Alila Morea is a 4-star resort in Encinitas, right outside San Diego. And they have been investing heavily with us over about the past year and seen a ton of views, a ton of follower growth. But the most compelling stat is probably that 40% boost in transient revenue year over year. Now, again, the attribution's not perfect, but the owners of Alila Morea have not, they recognize they haven't changed anything else on the marketing front. The geographic market has not significantly changed. So they're attributing a lot of that 40% boost to us and our efforts, even though we can't get perfect data because of the analytics dashboards and because it's a Hyatt family property. And so there's data that they gatekeep that we can't get. Cool. So let's look at some of the two client case studies I was alluding to in a little more depth. So Spoon Mountain, when we took over the past couple of years, generated 22 million views. They're over 80% direct bookings. Their account reach has exploded, and their revenue is up close to 70% from the first full year that we took over to the year before that. And they've about tripled their follower count from 30,000 to 100,000. And I'll break down, this in more detail, like what works and why these videos have popped and we've had so much success with them. But here are just some quick examples to show you what the content looks like. So Alila Morea is the other property. So Spoon Mountain was very much unique stays. It was more of that outdoor hospitality, more Instagrammable by nature. And Alila was one of the first more traditional hotels and resorts that wanted to work for us. And we didn't know for sure that the strategy was going to work because they're more of a big box hotel. It's not the same as a treehouse or a safari tent. And it took us 2-3 months to crack the code on the more traditional hotel social media marketing. But we did in we started in June, and by September, we started seeing their videos go viral as well. So we had one hit 800,000 views, and then a couple weeks later, we had another one hit 500,000 views. And over the period of a few months, we had, a dozen videos over 100,000. And that led to massive growth. Their followers have 3x since we started. But I think most interestingly, the people that went into the profile and clicked on that hotel booking link went from 500 before we had taken over to now 5 to 10,000. So that's a 10 to 20x increase, and their transient revenue is up 40%, which is like leisure travelers, non sort of group business, non-business travel, which is what we really focus on, and who we drive to book these hotels. It's really the leisure segment. So this is one of those videos. We have the hero drone shot that can stop the scroll, showing the California coastline and the hotel. We're showing a number of different amenities at the property. There's a model in some of the shots that help you visualize yourself there, but it's not about the model. It's just more about the storytelling and sort of visualizing yourself at the property. And we use this on-screen text to help hook you in, help sort of call out and identify who the property is for and who should be watching. So I just broke down some of this, but to get into more details, how do you maximize results with social media? One is going to be stay consistent. So we're posting for most of these accounts 2 to 4 times a week with very high quality, video posts, reels, in those 2 to 4 posts. We're using on-screen text and calls to action strategically. So up front and center, when you first see the reel, we're saying couples getaway or, group trip, family trip, whatever the ideal customer profile we're going after, we're calling that out up front. And we're also telling you where it is. So that if you live in Central Texas and you could drive to Wimberley easily, or if you live in Southern California and you could drive to Alila Morea easily, you're going to know, oh, this video, this hotel could be for me, and you're more likely to stay and watch the entire video. So we need high quality footage. That's why we use our top videographers, our high-end equipment in order to get the best footage we can. We call out, as I mentioned, the location and guest demographics, and we try to showcase as much of the property as we can in every reel. And this is counterintuitive to some folks because basically you would think that, oh, I'm showing the same stuff to all my followers day in and day out. But that's actually not the case. Every time you share a reel, 90% or so of the folks that see it or more are usually non-followers. So this is your one shot to show them as much about the experience as possible, hook them in, and potentially get them to follow you. The way that you connect with your followers that you already have is more through stories. So your stories are going to go to your followers. Your reels are going to primarily go to non-followers. And then finally, investing in high ROI influencers. We're in this somewhat inflationary environment with influencers, so you have to kind of be careful. You have to know what to look for. You want an influencer that is targeted, that has authority in your space and a relevant audience, and then you want high engagement rates, ideally 5% plus. You don't want an influencer with 1 million followers that has tons of videos with, singles of thousands of views. So like, they have 1, 2, and 5,000 view videos. You want influencers that have 1 million followers to have 500,000 view videos, 2 million view videos, etc. So mistakes to avoid: inconsistent posting, and really just not posting enough video. Video has the highest engagement, and we see this all the time where a hotel will post like 1, maybe 2 reels a month, and most of it is photo posts, which just don't get a ton of engagement. There's not enough storytelling. The videos and the posts feel like advertisements. Nobody likes to get sold to today. Everybody hates ads. So the more your video can feel like authentic content to connect with the consumer, the better, as opposed to just trying to sell them something. Low quality videography, it's just hard to watch. Not investing in influencers. We've seen some hotels get burned because they didn't know how to vet the right influencers, and then they take this strategy of like, we don't want any at all. Influencers can drive a ton of value. You just have to know how to vet them. And then not using on-screen text, right? Like, I don't know what I'm looking at. Yeah, it's beautiful, but I have no idea if it's for me. I have no idea if it's something that I should engage with or save or follow. Now let's expand this beyond
Hey,
just
would it be a good
yeah,
moment for me to interrupt and ask
yeah,
a few of
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
questions we
yeah,
have in the
yeah.
chat?
Pop
All
in.
right, great. So Henry's asking, when doing direct booking, how do you set up the logistics, your payment methods, obtaining client data, calendaring? What do the logistics of your company look like?
Yeah, sure. So we use Cloudbeds. That's our property management software, PMS, and they have a booking engine that is built into the software. So their PMS, their property management software, connects to all of the OTAs, so like Airbnb, Expedia, Booking.com, as well as the direct booking engine. So it avoids us from getting double booked, right? It's sort of this uniform and sort of the master calendar lives within Cloudbeds. And they handle the payment processing. We integrate that booking engine into our website, and that's how people book.
Okay. And uh, Rawan is asking, it might have been mentioned and I missed it, but what's the business model? What's your business model? Is it, are you a marketing firm that serves as a connection point between properties and hotels, or are you marketing for your own properties?
Both. And
Okay.
so maybe that's the confusion. Yeah. So I started off as a developer, right? Building the hotel concept, building Onera. So I was an owner and operator. We were also managing the property. And then from seeing the power of social media that we had at Onera, we've now basically created a team that now serves other hotels and resorts with social media marketing, with revenue management and pricing. So we build hotels and we also operate and market them.
Gotcha. Brooke is asking, how many such hotels do you have and where are they located?
How many hotels? Was that it?
Yeah, it sounds like he wants to go visit.
So Onera currently has two locations, one in Fredericksburg, Texas, one in Wimberley, Texas. There's a third one that's currently in the works near Zion. We actually just sold, we had a hotel in Palm Springs called Spirit of Sophia, which is a very fun, vibey little property out there. We recently sold it though, so it's not ours anymore. We still do their marketing though. And we have a couple of new projects in development, one of which I'm going to talk about at the end of the presentation.
All right. And let's see here. Henry's also asking, how do you know where to post and who your target audience is? Maybe you can zero in on that a little more.
Sure. Yeah. So in terms of where to post, I mean, it definitely depends on what you're selling. In the case of hotels, we find Instagram to be the best platform. It has the highest conversion, the highest intent audience. The ability to pay is higher on Instagram, right? It's just an older demographic. It's not necessarily as full of Gen Z and even Gen Alpha as TikTok, for example. So often consumer goods and things that can be sold on TikTok Shop are great for TikTok. But hotels, you might get a video go viral, but you don't see the same sort of conversion in bookings. So we focus on Instagram the most, and thankfully it also pushes to Facebook. And we've had a bunch of reels and videos go viral on Facebook that didn't actually do that well on Instagram. So we're tapping into a different, typically older demographic on Facebook as well.
All right. And then I'm going to throw one of my own questions in here. We've got a lot of people in this group that have their own Airbnbs or short-term rentals. And how would you suggest they get started? Can they do their own filming and start on a bootstrap budget, do their own filming, post their own posts and get going that way? Do they need to go out and hire a videographer? Should they start that way? What's your suggestion for a person who has a property and but not a marketing machine and wants to start marketing it?
Yeah. I think that's a great segue actually into this slide.
There we go.
So the best example of that I've found is this guy right on the right side in the video there, the Pacific Bin. So check them out. The Pacific Bin, it's a custom container home. He started off with just one unit. His name's Devin Lurup, who built the Pacific Bin. He documented the whole process. And from documenting the build and showing his founder journey and sort of some educational content on how other people could do the same thing if they wanted to, he amassed over 1 million followers before they even opened. Just showing, the build and the before and afters and all the rest. So you can totally do the same thing. If you want to do this yourself, I would start small. So you could build 1 or 2 unique stays that are super cool and different and have the potential to do, well on Instagram. The reality is you need a product that is going to show well on social media for social media marketing to be effective. So you need either really good design, really cool amenities, very unique architecture, a beautiful landscape or setting that the property is in, a beautiful view. You need some sort of hook. And that can be the property, that can be you as a founder. If you kind of show people how you do before and after for, let's say, like interior design, if you're renovating a tired property and turning it to something, cool and new. So there's a bunch of different ways to sort of skin the cat, but I would say, first off, you need a product that is Instagrammable and is kind of worth showing off on social. And then at that point, with one property, it's hard to justify, working with a firm like ours, right? The amount that we're investing in top videographers and equipment and editing and all this stuff, it's hard to make sense for one single Airbnb property. But if you have multiple, it can start to make sense at that point. With one property, I would say you can try and hire a videographer directly, get some content that way. You can try to shoot some content on your iPhone. This specific like build in public style content that Devin did with the Pacific Bin, where you're kind of like, at the center of the account. So it's really like the founder connection to the property. That can work really well with even like low production value. So you don't need top cameras and all the rest. You can do like selfie videos and things like that. I think all of Devin's content was actually filmed on an iPhone. Cool. Any other questions before I keep going?
There's a really quick one from Jelen. He wants to know about your conversion rates on Facebook and Instagram. And I don't know if you share those or not, but if you do, want to share them?
Sure. And that's conversion rates. You're probably talking.
I assume people that see your site and book.
Yeah. So people that actually go to the website, our web conversion rates. Yeah. So web conversion in hotel is lower, I think, especially in higher end hotels than other sectors. So our web conversion rate it's typically below 1%. And most of the other hotels that we see and work for, it's in this 0.5 to 1% range. So it's on the lower end. Oftentimes with hotels, you need somebody to come to your site multiple times, right? And there's a number of touch points before they actually decide to book. So that often can reduce conversion rate, as well as the price point. We're a higher price point, kind of luxury price product. So that also lowers conversion. Cool. All right. So yeah, just back to the personal brand side of things. I think this is super valuable, whether you build cool, unique stays or do something else. I've had a ton of success with this personally, from building a personal brand for Oasi as well as for Onera. So Oasi is our services company. Onera is the landscape hotel and treehouse hotel brand. So we've had a ton of inbound leads for Oasi. We've had a ton of like development partnership opportunities come from me sharing my experience with building properties like this, with marketing properties like this. Helps build authentic connections with a broader audience, and ultimately can lead to things like, Devin got a Netflix deal, can lead to folks that want to invest in future properties. So personal brand is extremely valuable these days. And in general, I just believe, and I think this has been proven out, that people love people, like brands, and hate businesses. So if you look at like, Brian Chesky or Elon Musk or Tim Cook, their social media followings are just massive, like multiples and orders of magnitude bigger than their company's social media pages, because people like to engage with the actual people and not the brand accounts. So what's next in travel and hospitality? So I've already told you guys, social media overtaking traditional third-party booking platforms, OTAs. So that's a big one. Another one is increase in wellness resorts and wellness tourism in general. We're just seeing that explode right now, and have some concepts that we're working on that are going to cater to that. You're seeing legacy brands, the Hiltons, Hyatts, Marriotts of the world getting into this space. They see, it's some of the highest performing real estate, highest return real estate that the modern traveler really wants today. So Marriott acquired Postcard Cabins, used to be Getaway. Hilton has a partnership with AutoCamp. And Hyatt has a partnership with Under Canvas. So they're trying to enter this space. We'll see if they like dilute it, take away kind of some of what made the experiences so special and interesting. But hopefully not. Hopefully they can maintain that authentic one-of-one experience that a lot of these experiential hospitality brands have. And then finally, you're seeing a lot of sort of copycats out there that are trying to hop on the glamping trend or the unique stays trend. And those that create truly one-of-one unique experiences and create an amazing product are going to be the ones that win. The cookie cutters, the copycats, and we see it in the markets that we're in. Like they'll try and copycat stuff that we did, but do it on the cheap and not do it to the same level. And they struggle with performance and occupancy and getting the same, sort of rates and interest from the modern traveler.
We've got one question here from Mark Husma, and they're asking, what was the development cost on the Onera Fredericksburg property, and what was your time to develop?
Yeah, so we built that project extremely fast. I started looking for land in mid 2020. We found the property in December, and then we opened our doors the following November. So November 2011. I can't disclose the exact cost due to our agreement with the REIT that bought us out, but it was between $300,000 to $500,000 a key per unit. If that's helpful, depending on which level of unit, how unique, how big, etc.
Yeah, what was the dollar per square foot for development? Yeah.
High, very high. So we look at it more on a revenue per square foot basis, right? So our cost per square foot is very high. We're building things up in the trees. There's a lot of structural steel. There's private hot tubs at every unit. I mean, typically, we're in the at least 500 and often over 1,000 a square foot. But we're generating on one of these treehouse units, we might be generating $200,000 a year in revenue.
Is that including the cost of the land, the $500 a square foot? Is that are you considering that, or are you just considering just development cost?
Mostly development cost, excluding land. I think when you're looking upwards of 1,000, it may include some of the land cost. It really depends on the property, on the style of structure. But we primarily look at it from a revenue basis, and then just like what's the overall cost. We're less concerned with cost per square foot that you might be hyper focused on with like a multifamily build or more of a select service hotel. Because this is a luxury product, we look at more on a cost per key basis. And that's typically how hotels are looked at, cost per key.
Jellen has a question. How do you compete with hotel loyalty programs and status and reward booking programs?
We don't really, and we're fine with that. So we have a different distribution strategy, right? Like a lot of those loyalty programs, the properties that you're able to stay at, it's somewhat limiting in terms of, how unique and differentiated they are. So we're really, really leaning into the novel experiences side of things. And we do have a loyalty rewards offering. So there's a company called Journey that provides loyalty points for more independent experiential type properties. So we participate in that. So if folks have Journey points, they can use those. But our points program is obviously nowhere near like a Hyatt, Hilton, or Marriott, but we think our product is much more interesting, unique, and inspiring for the guests.
Okay. No other questions right now.
Cool. All right. So what are we doing next? We are bringing the first tropical landscape hotel. So think Costa Rica, Bali, or Tulum style experience to the US. So we have a property in Redland, which is 45 minutes southwest of Miami, going towards the Everglades and towards the Florida Keys. It's a 25-acre exotic fruit farm, and we are going to create this tropical bungalow experience that's mixed with agritourism and wellness experiences. So we have the fruit farm, we have wellness components to the stay. We have, cold plunge, sauna, fitness room, classes, these grottos, both private as well as more of a communal style grotto and lagoon. and these, very Instagrammable, unique bungalows. So this project is in pre-development right now. It's 20 units. And it is very well located, right? We're 45 minutes from Miami Airport. So South Florida is, oh, actually, hold on. Let me talk about the team first. So we have a world-class GP team for this project. So Steve Turk is my primary leading partner on the project. He has been in Miami Beach hospitality and luxury hospitality for over 25 years. He's been second in command at Lowe's Hotel, which is a $300 million a year hotel in Miami. He's been F&B director at Nobu Hotel and has had his own staffing company and now has a short-term rental and hotel property management company in Miami and the surrounding area. You guys know plenty about me at this point. Banks is the GC and co-developer and entitlements expert that I use on all my projects. He's really phenomenal, tons of experience. And then Ed is our modular manufacturing expert. So he is a distributor. He has relationships with a ton of different manufacturers. And this property is the first one that we're doing fully modular. And so we wanted to bring in a partner that was their specialty. So why South Florida? A lot of reasons. There's very little of this unique stays outdoor hospitality product in South Florida. There's basically just sort of backyard tents that are relatively mid-market, low tier. So nothing that's more upscale and luxury in the outdoor hospitality segment. It's one of the highest concentrations of wealth in the US. Tons of tourism, dollars and people, tons of population growth, and it's a big wellness hotspot. And this concept definitely leans into the wellness side of things. Overall wellness travel boom. So expected to reach 1.9 trillion by 2032 is wellness tourism. And agritourism is also booming. So between the two of them, we're sort of tapping into to both of these trends that are riding high right now. And not going to get too into the numbers, can get more into it if any of you guys are interested, but high IRR, in the mid to high 20s, high equity multiples, and, very high margins for hotels. 45%, is much higher than high performing hotels are typically in the 30s. So, that 45% and that's relatively conservative. I mean, Onera is actually closer to 55%. So we're trying to be conservative with the projections on this one. So that's what we're doing next. So if any of you guys are interested in that project, happy to chat further. I'm assuming Daniel will provide my contact info and how to reach out. And also happy to talk about social media marketing. If any of you, own portfolios of short-term rentals that could make sense, to help with social media marketing or revenue management, the pricing side of things, or, hotels.
Hey, Ben, feel free to provide your contact information right now to everyone.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can
sure.
drop it in the chat or put it on the screen, however you'd like to share it.
Yeah, let me drop it in the chat here. So I'll put my email and then I'll also put some of the links for my social media. I put out a lot of content on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I have a newsletter.
Does LinkedIn work for you, out of curiosity? Because I'm thinking that if we wanted to advertise this club, that would probably be the right spot. But actually, what's your opinion?
No, I think LinkedIn's great. I mean, we invest heavily in it. I mean, we're posting multiple times a week and we try to put out, we're not doing any LinkedIn ads. Actually, it's all organic. So I post a ton of like thought leadership content. So marketing, hotels, experiential travel. And we've had some posts go viral, which adds to my follower count and basically inbound interest. But it's a lot of work, but it's been very valuable for us. The inbound lead generation is phenomenal, and LinkedIn is the biggest channel for us, bigger than Twitter or Instagram for Oasi, for our clients.
Out of curiosity, do you have any software tools that you use to post to LinkedIn?
We post natively in platform.
Okay.
I think, for the most part, we're not scheduling posts out. We're posting so frequently and we want to try to capitalize on trends and things that are sort of, timely. So we don't like to post out too far in advance and risk some of the content getting a little more stale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, everybody feel free to put your questions in the chat here. Rajesh has a question of how do you take care of security and safety aspects?
We have full-time staff. So oftentimes we have staff that live on property. So at our bigger properties, we have a GM, we have a head of maintenance. We often have an ops associate as well. And so one of those folks is on site all the time.
And Prolette is asking, are you worried about the economy and its effect on travel in the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, it's really hard to say. It could help us, right? I mean, I think that there's an argument that it could actually help us. So think about it. People are traveling internationally less. The world is a little annoyed at America, so that people don't want to go abroad, or there's just some, economic incentive to stay closer, or people, instead of spending 10 grand going to Europe, are going to spend, a couple grand doing more of a staycation drive-to destination. So we're actually well positioned for that. So instead of going to Bali, come to Baja, right? Or instead of going to one of these international destinations that's a lot more costly, you can, hop in your car, drive out, and your overall cost is a fraction of what it would be.
All right. Any other questions?
I have a question, if you don't mind me asking it.
Go for it.
Hi, Ben. So I'm in a similar situation as you with the partnership. Each partner brings us a unique experience or a unique expertise to the group. So my question to you is, how do you split equity? I don't need the exact dollar amount or percentage, but how is equity split? Like, let's say, for example, I know that you had a partner that brought his construction expertise to the company, right? Do you guys hire his company, or is the cost at free of charge? Because he's a partner and he gets equity split.
Yeah, so
How does that work?
it's a combination. And originally, Banks, our GC and co-developer, did just start as a fee-based GC. But because he's been so phenomenal, we brought him in as a partner on future deals. So he's participating in the GP, right, the sponsor side, and he is also, giving us friendlier fees, at market or below market. And, they do a phenomenal job, and likely will also roll in some of those fees as LP investment or GP contribution to the LP.
Okay, nice. And is there like a cost target? Like, let's say you guys estimated a project to be about $1 million, and let's say he beat estimates by 250,000. Is there like some sort of incentive for him, or what if he goes over, like double, right? Like,
Yeah.
is there?
So far he's delivered. We don't have incentives built in that way, but because he is a part of the GP and has LP dollars as well, he has those incentives and is going to benefit if we come in under, and that's just kind of his makeup. So the last project we did together, he found $1 million in savings that we were able to reallocate to areas that we needed. So I've done 3 projects with him now, and they've all come in on time, under budget, or at budget. So. Yeah, and I actually have to hop off too, but it was great to meet all you guys.
Thank you so much, Ben. I'll definitely
Cool.
add you on social media as well. So
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Feel free to reach out.
Hey, could everybody take
Thank you.
themselves off mute and thank Ben for coming in and speaking to us today?
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feels so good to say that again.
Thank you, Daniel, for hosting us.
And for those of you who are interested in the leadership group, please reach out to me. I'm looking for help in promoting on social media and finding new speakers, and covering for me as a moderator if I'm not there a couple of the times this summer. So please do reach out. Thank you.
Thank you.